Well, hey there. Happy New Year and welcome to Wedding Planning Simplified. I'm Amy.
And I'm Jacqueline.
Happy New Year, Jacqueline.
Oh, Happy New Year. Finally,
Although
2022. From a marketing perspective, I can rhyme I do with a lot of things. So I
it's
am
very
so
true.
excited, not only for that, but also because our couples can finally get married this year.
We hope. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I've actually decided that I'm going to stop saying Happy New Year and I'm going to just start wishing people a less stressful New Year.
I like that. I did notice that in your email send off. And I was like, I'm going to steal that, I think.
Oh, we just have to take a collective deep breath, I think. And that's kind of what we're here to talk about today is that collective, we're in this together. We, as in Jacqueline and I and the team here at Unmistakably You, we are wedding experts and we know what we're doing with weddings. But we're in the middle of a global pandemic. We're heading into the third year of weddings in a pandemic, and we have no damn idea what we're doing.
For
And
anyone who knows me personally knows how much that drives me nuts, not being able to have a plan A to plan T. But honestly, it's one of those, like you said, all of last year, we wish we had a magic crystal ball to predict. But at this point, I feel like I don't even know what sport we're in. I don't even know how to make an analogy about it, but it's just not good.
yeah, as self-proclaimed control freaks, sorry if I'm putting
Nope.
you in a box you don't want to be
Nope,
in,
not at
Jacqueline,
all.
but
I
I
will
mean
happily put myself in that box and I will decorate it.
I am all over the control freak box and I have no control of anything right now. And so we are here today to talk to you about some planning resolutions for planning a wedding in the third year of a pandemic in 2022. This is not meant to be preachy. It's not meant to be, us telling you the answers, because God knows we don't have any of the answers. And that drives us both nuts. So we can give you wedding advice up the wazoo, but we can't necessarily tell you what your COVID wedding is going to look like. And that makes me bonkers. So we're here today to kind of talk you through our perspective of how to deal with planning a wedding in the shit show that we're living in now.
Yeah.
So if me saying the word shit just made you perk up your ears, just know that normally Jacqueline and I are pretty sweet and straight-laced, and we care about you, honestly. But we're also adults living in this messed up world that you're living in as well. And so we are here today to share with you our perspectives on some ways to navigate life and wedding planning, and we're going to try and help you through, but we don't, the disclaimer is that we don't necessarily know all the answers or any of the answers, but we are going to drop probably a few truth bombs today and probably a few F-bombs. So if you're used to sweet, kind, normal Amy and Jacqueline, and that's going to offend you, we invite you to head on over to our blog, unmistakably.you.com, where you can find this in, normal Amy and Jacqueline language. But we kind of felt like, it's year 3 of weddings in a pandemic, and it's shit is real. And so let's just be real. So parental advisory is on board here.
Yes, headphones encouraged, but not necessarily mandatory. If a few people in your household could use some little kicks in the pants too.
You have been warned. So sorry, there's a hair in my face that's driving me nuts.
That's okay.
Get it out. What we can tell you is that life is messed up and you are not in control and we are not in control and nobody's in control. I don't even think the government's in control. In fact, I know that they're not. So, we can tell you that the way you approach your mindset and your plans is going to make all the difference in what makes you happy, what stresses you out, because that's the only thing that you have control over. I mean, we cannot tell you what the restrictions are going to be at the time of your wedding, how many guests you're going to be allowed to have, whether you can have dancing or a buffet, or whether your guests are going to have to wear masks. We don't know that. Every time I think I know that, I have no idea. And it changes by the minute. But what we can tell you is that your mindset is going to make all the difference in your outlook in your wedding plans this year.
Definitely. And I am a firm believer, although Amy and I just admitted that we don't really know how to make a plan A to a plan T, but making some sort of plan or at least some sort of action plan to hold yourself accountable for goals is genuinely a good place to start. You know, you don't start driving on the highway without at least knowing where your exit is.
It's true. And that actually is kind of our first piece of advice, is that you and your partner are a team, and do not ever forget that. And in that team, you need to be on the same page, whether that's in terms of setting your priorities, which we harp about all the time. And we're not here to talk about that, but you need to be on the same page. You need to set your priorities, and you need to have a game plan that's realistic and practical for the two of you. You know, it's the two of you getting married. It's the two of you starting your life together, and you need to present that united front right from the get-go. So while it's usually kind of appealing to tell other people to go to hell and take their opinions with them, we're not advising that, because yeah, the wedding is about you. It's absolutely about you, but it's not just about you. You need to be respectful of other people's opinions. You need to respect that other people are also emotionally or maybe even financially invested. So we're absolutely not telling you to just tell everybody else to go to hell and focus only on yourself, because that's not the way life works. But ultimately, you and your partner are planning this wedding, and finding ways to be understanding and to listen to other people's opinions while politely telling them that you're disregarding their opinions is really important.
Yes. And I always implore people, it's tough not to fall into the trap of saying my wedding. Make sure you're using the term our wedding. That is a great way to already signify that you are a united front by making sure that you're not necessarily taking all of the credit or all of the design plans under your belt, that you're sharing that responsibility or also just that day. And even if you're not, united front.
Absolutely. So that kind of segues into our second point, which I've already mentioned, which is that it is your wedding, but it's not necessarily just all about you. So first and foremost, try to avoid the comparisons and competitions that are sometimes go hand in hand with the wedding planning. This is not your cousin's wedding. This is not the royal wedding. This is your wedding. And so trying to make it what you and your partner have decided you want based on your priorities is first and foremost. But again, you want to be considerate and respectful of other people's opinions, your parents, your wedding party, your friends, your vendors, while recognizing that, you know, they have opinions that you might not agree with and business practices that you might not understand. And so you want to make sure that you are respectful and you're honoring their emotions and their opinions, while still realizing that it's you and your partner, your team, that are executing your priorities. I've been given permission here to quote our friend Rosemary from Time for Flowers. So if you know Rosemary, you know that she's wonderful. Rosemary, if you're listening, hello. I was told that I'm allowed to quote Rosemary as long as I believe her words. And this is actually something that I'm working on this year from a personal standpoint in terms of my resolutions. But it's your self-worth and your mindset about yourself. And that is her favorite quote is, "I'm fucking awesome." And she says, you know, get up every morning, look in the mirror and say that to yourself. And so as you're planning your wedding, keep in mind that you and your partner, you're a fucking awesome team. You just need to make sure that you are united on that. Try not to care what other people think, and understand that, you know, it's stressful enough to plan a wedding in a pandemic without trying to also keep everybody else happy. So finding respectful ways to stick to your guns with your partner and to make sure that you execute your priorities while being respectful of other people's opinions. And then, as Jacqueline mentioned earlier, making sure that you keep yourselves organized and to stay, you know, on top of your wedding plans, because it is your wedding and nobody else is going to do it for you. Mm-hmm. So Jacqueline, you phrased this a lot better than I can.
Yes, I've always said that we will do as much as we can with your wedding plans, but at the end of the day, we can't actually be the ones that set your guest list. You need to do that. We can send you reminders after reminders to send out your invitations, but as much as we would like to, we can't pick you up in our vehicles, drop you off at the post office, take your hand, and put it to the lovely little red box. We would want to, but we can't. So make sure that you're holding yourself a little bit accountable, because although it is a global pandemic and we don't know what comes next, we do know at least the basics of how to plan a wedding.
And procrastination is really attractive, especially when you don't know what's coming down the pipe, whether, the cabinet's meeting today and they're going to lock us down tomorrow. Nobody knows that. And it can be really attractive to just sit back and say, I'm going to wait until I have some certainty. The world is a mess right now. That's
again, we're not on a soapbox preaching to you. I think Amy and I are speaking from pure experience with, we won't admit it, but definitely my social media game throughout the holidays. I was very thankful for that giveaway because I was like, great, procrastination nation can happen. I can just have that one post, turn off this brain for a little bit. Excellent. So you're not alone if you have procrastinated, but this is a great time for you to lace up your boots and get back in there.
Absolutely. And understanding that the world is a mess and trying to just get yourself in the headspace of being able to roll with the punches. We know that that's not easy to do. It's not something that I do well. But if over the past 2 years, we have seen so many of our couples drive themselves crazy with worry and anxiety and emotion and sadness and despair and frustration and anger because they have had to change up their plans or cancel some plans or cut their guest list. And that absolutely sucks, guys. We know that. It's brutal. But trying not to get so wrapped up in, I have to change my plans, that it destroys your entire vision of your wedding is going to be so crucial for your own mental well-being. We know that you may have been planning this wedding for a couple of years. You may have been planning this wedding since you were 3, and you have a vision and you want what you want, but being able to roll with the punches when you can't have what you want is a good life skill that I'm still working on. And it's tough, but we still don't know what's coming down the pipe for this summer. And while your plan A is obviously your ultimate goal, trying to envision what will happen if your numbers are restricted or if you can't dance, and just trying not to stress yourself out by being stuck on one plan or one idea or one vision, and being able to pivot. I hate that word.
I know. As soon as you say it, like my skin just crawls. I don't even think of Friends anymore. I would love to think of Ross Geller, but I don't. I don't.
I know but the goal here is just to know that if you have to make changes, everybody understands. If you have to cut your guest list, this is pandemic wedding year 3. People get it. And they understand if you can no longer accommodate your guest list of 100 or 200 or 500, people get it. So just know that even though it hurts and it's an emotional sort of blow to have to revise things and cut guests, people understand. And you also, on the flip side of that, have to understand that people have different comfort levels. So if someone RSVPs no, know that it's not a personal attack on you. Don't take it personally. It's it's just where they are in their comfort zone, and you have to be accepting of that, as they will be accepting if you have to cut them from the list.
Definitely. And I think a common question that comes with that is the whole idea of RSVPs in the future based on current restrictions. So if you are curious regarding maybe how to word a vaccine invite, I really encourage you to go back and listen to a live a few weeks ago, because I'm guessing that will be a common theme in the coming season, is having to make sure that that is a checkbox that your guests have.
For sure. So our 4th resolution is not necessarily specific to wedding planning. It's just a good life goal, and something that, again, I'm personally working on this year. And that is to take good care of yourself, because nobody else is going to do it. And, it's so difficult being in this society of fear and uncertainty that we're living in, to make sure that you are caring for yourself. But do try to incorporate some daily routines. It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be like, I'm going to run a 5K every day, because that's not realistic, at least not for me.
I was going to say, although Heather, HRM,
I know.
well
I know.
done.
She logged an incredible number of kilometers this year, and that's awesome. Not realistic for me. So my goals are to find a daily 5 minutes just for some kind of decompression. I don't want to say meditation, because I suck at meditation. I cannot shut it off. I can't make it happen. But, try to find a way to decompress. Try to move every day, even just a little bit. Go for a little walk, or, do some stretching before bed, or maybe yoga's your jam. There's some great yoga with Adrienne online is awesome. So try to set up some physical routines that will also help with your mental health and well-being. Make sure that you have a strong safety net. I am incredibly blessed to have a fantastic team and a wonderful right-hand lady this way.
It's
I
me.
guess.
I know. I was like, what side do we mirror?
I know. Well, the camera's messing me up.
Like
anyway, your partner and your friends and your family, and hopefully you have this great safety net that will help support you when you need it, and that you can return the favor in exchange. And then knowing your limits is really important too. Don't take on the planning of a huge 500-person wedding if you know it's going to make you absolutely crazy every single day, worrying about what the COVID numbers look like, and worrying about how you're going to execute it or how you're going to pay for it. Trying to make sure that I think the OLG has it right when they say know your limits and play within them. Making sure that you know yourself and don't take on projects that are going to stress you out. If you're not a baker, don't commit to baking all of your favors. If you're not a seamstress, don't commit to sewing your bridesmaids' dresses. So I'm gonna stop preaching at this point, but just trying to make sure that you take good care of yourself, because if you get to the point where you're completely stressed out and you're not sleeping and you're not healthy, you're not going to enjoy your wedding, no matter how perfect it may be.
Exactly. You can do all that you can to plan a perfect day, but if you are exhausted by the time that you reach the wedding day, what was it for?
Exactly. And that leads us into our final point, which is get help if you need it. Mm-hmm. This is, again, not something that I am historically great at. And Jacqueline will be happy to know that this is something that I'm working on, because the number of times that I should have just asked for help when she offers it in the beginning, instead of calling her in a panic at the last minute. So this is, again, something that I'm working on, but knowing that there are supports there that you can access, and that's at any level of, life or wedding or relationship or, physical well-being, any level of financial commitment. If you have some kind of an employee assistance program at your job, or if you have some kind of benefits, that's great. And if not, there are absolutely a ton of free resources that you can take advantage of, again, for wedding planning, for stress management, for physical fitness and well-being. And so we just advise you to take advantage of those resources when you need them, and not wait until it's too late. So in terms of wellness support, if you think it might be helpful to talk to an impartial counselor and you have the resources to do that, by gosh, it's good stuff. Mm-hmm. See your doctor if you're thinking that your stress level is just so high that you can't manage it. Go for a massage if you can. There are also, like massage therapists in training where you can get cheap massages if you don't have benefits. Like we mentioned before, making sure that you have a solid friend group and a good safety net. There are lots of personal training groups out there as well. I can put a really great plug for Align with Cassandra. Align Wellness is owned and operated by one of our coordinators. Cassandra she's just absolutely wonderful. She has so many supports for you on a physical and mental, as well as eating and food kind of level. So she's wonderful. If you're looking for wedding support, there are tons of wedding pros out there that offer all kinds of free resources. If you're here, you already know about us. If you have the means to hire planning support, that's also really, really beneficial, because as much as we don't necessarily know what's coming down the pipe, we can help you to pivot. I hate the word, but we can help you to pivot, because we
You can
have
do it.
all kinds of resources that we can access that you might not be aware are even out there. So if you need help with the wedding planning, reach out to Unmistakably You or other coordinators, because it's a really important thing that you can do to help yourself out. There are lots of support groups out there and workshops that you can access. We've got some workshops coming up on budgeting and vow writing. So there are tons and tons of supports out there to help you with the things you're struggling with in your wedding planning. And then at home, if you need some help and some support, just know that there are lots of virtual workout groups that you can join, YouTube videos like we mentioned before, Yoga with Adrienne, lots of online meditations. I can't remember the name, but there's one really great one that I've used in the past. There are
It's really great because it clears your mind.
Yeah. Oh boy. It starts with a B. I just can't remember. Anyway, and then there are tons of podcasts and books, and just knowing yourself and knowing when you need help is the first step. And then being able to access tons of those resources that are out there. If you need help, we're more than willing to hook you up with whatever we can to help you out.
Definitely. Amy and I are the king and queen of saying, I'm going to take both sides of this apparently, of saying, plan your marriage, not your wedding. And we're not going to sit here and say, by all means, you need to hire us in order to have a smooth sailing process. But knowing your limits, knowing what you can handle is definitely a great way to start. But then understanding that help and that service, again, 3 years of pandemic planning, we might not have it down to a science. It might still be a guessing game, but presumably you've never planned a wedding before. So whoever you do trust, whoever you do get help from, make sure you accept that help. And I know it can be really hard some days.
Absolutely. I was actually looking for custom shirts for us for the wedding show that say #planyourmarriage. So it's really important to maintain those connections with your partner and to stay healthy physically and mentally, so that you and your partner can be a united front and can work as a team, and so that you're not ending up at each other's throats and with all kinds of stress and tension, because there's enough of that in the world right now without you and your partner experiencing it in your home.
It's true. And it's inevitable. It will happen. It's going to happen. If it hasn't happened yet, buckle up. Make sure that you've got some snacks on standby, or like we said, maybe a healthier alternative. But know that it's a process. We're not expecting you to listen to this video and instantly change your perspective on wedding planning. Being able to set a daily routine and following it right away. It's going to take time. So go easy on yourself, but maybe this is time to lace up those boots. And like I said earlier, jump back in.
Absolutely. So moral of the story, the world is fucked up right now. We are here to support you if we can, but you need to take the first steps to be able to keep yourself healthy and well, mentally and physically. You need to know your limits. You need to play as a team with your partner. And we are here cheering you on all the way. Go team, go.
Yes.
All right. Thanks for joining us here today, folks. As always, shoot us an email or a DM if there's anything that we can do to help you. We hope that your year, despite all the challenges, is looking positive, and we can't wait to hear all about your wedding plans coming up.
Yes. Yes. And like Amy said, we're not necessarily saying Happy New Year, but a less stressful New Year.
Less stressful New Year, everybody. Take care of yourself.
Bye, everyone.